Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 10.
Well, today we have something really. Well, first off, let's introduce ourselves. I'll let you go first if you want.
My name is Jill Petrie. I am a psychic medium, author, and minister and teacher.
And my name is Frank. I'm a mystic coach for the boundless mind. And what that means is I will help you if you seek to have a better relationship with your inner self and your higher power. I'm your guy. I will accompany you. And so today we have a very special show. What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about the levels of consciousness. We ask if you're joining us, please share the live and interact with us in the comments. We love to hear comments. Any questions you have, we'll answer them to the best of our abilities.
Perfect. And so tonight we're going to talk about the levels of consciousness. Now, what does that mean, right? There's a whole bunch of different models. And here, what we're going to have here that's going to be fun is that Jill actually brings to the table one such model. And I tend to look at things from a more fluid perspective where I'm not looking at a model, but I'm looking at the, let's say, the comparative result. I'm looking at all the models and sort of as one thing, because all the models really, they all talk about the same thing. They all talk about a human experience, and that human experience is repeatable and it is verifiable. And those levels, the description of those levels is how you verify them. And so, Jill, I'll let you start a little bit with the number one, the background, where the model you use comes from, and maybe get us through some of the, we can go level by level and discuss each level if you'd like. That could be something we could do.
Okay. So I'm sorry, my camera's like turning. So when I think of the levels of consciousness, I think more of like my work with hypnosis, because I do a lot of work with hypnosis. So I think of level one as being I'm sorry, wait. My camera
Oops, we're
is
losing.
not steady today. Let me get this to sit down. So I think of like when I have to tell a client about levels of consciousness, because a lot of times people are worried, oh my God, I don't want to be out of control for, they think hypnosis is something that it's not. So I have to talk to them about different levels of consciousness. So I stick to like the just seven of the levels. Level one is like waking consciousness. Level two would be deep sleep, like when you sleep at night. Level three is a little bit deeper when you dream at night. And then there's transcendental consciousness, cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, unity consciousness. So when we're working with like development and learning psychic abilities, we have to go through these levels to achieve our goals in development.
Now, you say you have to go through those levels, but I mean, one of them is the God unity. So I assume not everybody that comes to the table is
No,
leaving having reached God unity.
definitely not. Definitely not. And that's very difficult to accomplish. Um my camera's so crooked. That's very difficult to accomplish because, there's different things that stand in our way. Our ego,
Ego's a big one.
that's a big problem. And other things that stand in your way, like, I mean, I can go on and on forever about different things that affect your level of consciousness, because you have to. I don't want to switch the subject up, and that seems like that's the direction I'm going.
That's okay.
When you awaken to spirituality and to developing psychic or mediumistic abilities, you have to raise your vibration. And I use the levels of consciousness, with raising vibrations. So it kind of goes hand in hand because you have to be in a certain state to be able to make a connection. At least if you want to make a connection with someone, with an entity, or like with spirit that is in aligned with the white light, you have to be able to get there. So I don't want to go off track too much about that because consciousness is also a way to heal yourself. Like if you can, it has to do with meditation. Like there's just a whole lot of different things that have to do with consciousness.
Well, I broke it down. I just released a video actually. I actually made it active as we were like just before we came on like an hour ago or something like that.
Oh, I thought you were gonna play your video.
Oh, if you'd like, it's a 25-minute video. Maybe we can play it, pause it, comment, do things like
Yeah.
that. Would that work?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's see. Well, okay. Do we have an audience? If anybody is here, okay. Should we release our word of the day already and see where we go from there, or do we? How do
Yeah,
we?
let's release the word of the day.
How does
or
that
the
work?
What's
That's your
that?
baby. The word of the day. That's your baby. That I'm not sure how it works exactly.
So
How does
it's just
that?
something that I thought would be cool to do, since that just to have some interaction, more interaction on the live stream. So we can, I mean, we can
How
choose
do we know if
anything.
we have viewers? Do we have a way to know?
I can see somebody in here, I think.
Oh, because you're looking on your page.
I have
at
not
the
shared
time.
out the live yet, though. Let me share that out real quick.
Well, you don't have to share it. It should share automatically to all of
I
our
had
pages.
people that asked me to share, though. Yeah, it is.
Share.
It's definitely shared automatically, but people have asked me to share to let them know when we went live. So
Oh,
I'm
you
just gonna
mean
send a few.
it's supposed to send a notification to people. But okay, I can see we're on though. At least we're good. So, um,
So we actually didn't come up with the word of the day for today yet.
so maybe let's scrap that for this
I was
time.
kind of actually thinking to let one of the viewers like choose the word of the day. Let's see what comes in the comments, and we'll pick. If we like your comment, we'll choose that for the word or the phrase of the day. So
But then, what do
keep
we
it
do with the
positive,
word of
something
the day?
positive. What are we gonna do with the word of the day? Well, we're gonna give a prize away at the end of the show with the word of
Well,
the
we
day.
can't do that every show, right?
Why?
Well, okay, all right, maybe you.
I
Can.
mean, we can give a prize away. A lot of times when we have guests that come here, they'll give like a discount or something like that. But I like prizes.
Do we have anybody with us, anyways, to begin with? Is anybody?
I see somebody in here.
Is anybody gonna tell us? Hi, I'm here. Not yet. All right.
So we're
But that's
looking
okay. Let's keep
for
on going.
the highs, and we're looking for the interaction today. We're trying to build up on that, guys, and I know we have a few of you that have regularly been viewing us, and we would love to interact with you, no matter if it's something to do with what we're talking about tonight, or if it's something to do with something you want to learn more about that you want us to feature in a future live stream, or whatever it is. We would love to interact with our viewers. So just please let us know you're here, even if you just say hi, whatever you want to say in the comments.
Okay, so if we're gonna do this, I guess the only way I have to do it is I'll play it off YouTube in my and I'll share my screen. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's the only way I can think of doing this. Like the way we're set up. I don't know. Share screen. So share this. Share. Now this is not one of my most polished video. It's just the idea that I wanted to throw out there about the levels of consciousness. So, okay, so I kind of like how we're set up here. We have us, we have the video. Wow, look at that. We're not doing too bad. Okay, so because I have to pause, just let me know if you want to pause and say something, whatever, you know what I mean, like at any time, like it's fine.
We'll pause, like go on with the comments. Hi Cynthia, how you doing?
Oh,
Thanks
there we
for
are. Hi.
commenting.
Thanks for saying hi. It means a lot. Like it sounds like nothing, but it means a lot because we're out here throwing ourselves out there, going like, okay, who's there? Is anybody watching us? Are we?
Yeah, I
You
think
know?
most of our viewers though come back and watch the replay. Um, and that's
Yeah, we
okay.
got a few people that watch it on video. So, all right. So let's, I guess, start the video and we'll go from there.
We'll stop in the middle, guys. If you have questions, enter it in the comments and we'll stop and answer your questions.
Oh, wait up. Is it sharing sound? Wasn't there a weird option that we had to do to
Yeah,
share
make sure you
sound?
share the sound.
Okay, number one, let me kill the audio that's playing. Let me. Okay, this is shared. I don't see a share sound option, so let me see. Well, the thing is, I don't get sound. Oh, I know why. It was on mute. There we go. All right. So technical difficulties aside, here we go. I do go on a bit on the video because I didn't edit. I didn't
I don't hear
do
anything
much.
right now.
It's coming.
No, nothing.
You can't hear it?
No.
Oh crap! All right. Why?
Let me check my Facebook, make sure, because maybe Facebook can hear it and we just can't.
Well, Cynthia might be able to let us know if she would,
Let me check my Facebook, make
if
sure,
she could hear it.
because maybe Facebook can hear it and we just can't. No, I don't hear anything.
Record bands. Come on.
And that's okay if we can't. We can just talk about it live. It's fine.
Yeah, well, it's probably easier too because this is a fairly long video.
Okay, let's do that.
Like I think it would. I mean, I invite people to go watch it. The points are all there, and I discuss. See, the way I discuss the levels of consciousness is not so much using a model, and the reason I do it this way is because to some extent I've gone through some of them, not all of them. I'm not sitting here going like I'm, the Buddha. I'm sitting on a mountaintop, illuminated. That's not what I'm pretending to be here. But I've gone through some of them, and there's in the video I explain. I don't know if I explain it well, but there's two things. There's the awareness of something on a psychological level, right? We discover. I can say easily, I'm one with the universe. On a psychological level, most of us do. Most people who have, right? You were mentioning a spiritual awakening, and
Hmm.
there's a spiritual awakening which at the very basis of it all is the most important awakening. That's when you come to the realization that, wait a minute, there's more to this. Like, this is impossible. It can't just be the life we live every day.
Definitely.
Now, let's even take it back further, because as babies, how do we discover, like, what is a level of consciousness to begin with? When we're babies, we have a certain level of consciousness, but we're only conscious of things based on our five senses. We're discovering our senses, we're touching, we're smelling, we're tasting, we're especially tasting, because even touching is not that great, and so on and so forth, right? Now, at that point, we don't even know that we're separate from people, from other people. We're not even aware of that. We build awareness all of a sudden that we're a person. We're not them. Then we start going, okay, check this out. Now we're a team. Now we act as a team with everybody because we're like, okay, well, they're not me, but we're, hey. And so all of a sudden we develop this, right? Now our ego is what's developing at that point, right? Our personality, our perception of I, which is my thoughts, my emotions, because now we're discovering those. Now we're starting to go, whoa, wait a minute, there's these things that happen inside me. There's these, ideas I get. We become conscious of those. Now, that's where, practically a lot of people stop. Sadly, that's the way of the world, right? Um, but then there's more. Somebody who will start meditating, let's say, or take a spiritual practice of the same type. Like, I don't know all of them. I can't say I've
Hey,
tried
Nick.
all of them. I know, oh, yeah, hey, nice, nice to have another person chiming in. Cool. I'm happy you guys are here. And so, where was I? So now, yeah, so now you're
Spiritual
taking up,
awakening.
let's say, meditation, something like that. What meditation will bring you to is a new consciousness, which is that you're neither your thoughts or your emotions. You're a separate thing from them. And now that gives you a good ability. Now, I happen in my own life, I think maybe I got lucky, whereas I built meditation at the same time as through addiction or whatever. I was forced into psychology, and they kind of go hand in hand very well. Because once you're able to perceive your thoughts and your emotions, now if you start working on them, they're easy to work with because they're not you anymore. When you say, I'm changing this, you're not identifying with it anymore. You're disidentifying it. And that is very strong. Now, the next thing that you become aware of is that we're energy, right? You become aware of that fluid part of the universe that is sort of like it's behind everything, and you can kind of tell it's there, and you don't know how to explain it, and you see weird things, and you learn about strange things that
Hey,
happen in
Jessica.
the world. And now you're kind of going into a realm that's a little weirder, right, to begin with, because everybody around is still at those first levels of senses, and they're going, well, you're kind of crazy, I think. And you kind of start moving into that. Now, this is where some people will start taking Reiki, any kind of energy manipulation will be very, very, my own personal opinion. This is not but I believe will be very, very beneficial at that point, because you've learned that you're part of the energy that permeates the world. Now you're learning to manipulate that life energy and to bring it inside you, and to become stronger using it. Now, I'm describing this again the same as most models use, like in a linear fashion, but there's a point where it kind of breaks down. I kind of have the same problem when I get in the video, because you start becoming aware of things that are very okay. The awareness of that energy, number one, it becomes, if you could imagine being able to perceive everywhere you look, anything you see, anything you touch, anything. It's not that you see an energy, it's that you just perceive that it's there. You just kind of, you have a knowing of the the nature of things at a deeper level. um, Now from there, what you start perceiving are and this is where I don't like putting it in a certain order. It doesn't happen in order. It happens weird. But you start perceiving things like the law of duality. You start perceiving the oneness of things all of a sudden. But you start perceiving it from one standpoint, because you'll perceive it later from an even different standpoint. But at that moment, what you're perceiving is how you and everybody else are one and the same. Now, intellectually, we all can do this. We all can say, yeah, yeah, okay, we're all part of one big thing. But having the experience of being part of one big thing, this is where I differentiate somebody having an awakening and somebody having an awareness. I can be aware of my oneness with God, but to say that I have sat in my oneness with God, that I have experienced the oneness with God, the same as if I say I have tasted an apple, I know what an apple tastes like. Until I taste an apple, I have a description of an apple, right? And we're working our way through multiple lives through those levels. I mean, those don't happen. The higher levels where you start discovering, that duality doesn't exist, because everything has a duality, right? Interrupt me. Say something. I've been going on for a while here. I want to hear you, Jill.
I'm just thinking like I'm just gonna let you keep on for now, but like
Okay.
I mean, we're famous for not agreeing on things.
Okay, that's cool. Well, where do we disagree then? Let's.
I you just you said you don't have any experience with. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Can you clarify? Jessica's confused.
That's possible. Clarify what? What am I trying to clarify?
What do you need clarification on, Jess?
Yes, that's quite possible. Well, it's because I'm speaking of things that, yeah, it can easily get confusing.
Here's
Easily.
the thing. He's not wrong, and my thoughts are not wrong either. We all need to just own our own thoughts.
Well, the
And
model you sent
what
me
we feel comfortable with
speaks of
is
that.
what is. And that's just how I feel about everything. Like if you tell me 1 and 1 equals 7, that's cool.
Okay, duality and the awakening versus knowledge of God. Okay, so those are they're three distinct things. Yeah, I kind of went fast a little bit on that one. That's true.
And
Okay.
what she says, that's kind of where I was stuck a little bit too.
Okay. Okay, the awakening. It's because we hear a lot of people talk about the awakening these days, and there is an awakening that, yes, seems to be referred to as the awakening right now, and it's the one where you become aware. It's the first one, the one where you become aware that you're more than the sum of your parts. You're more than your thoughts, your emotions, your you realize that everything we're being fed, everything we're like, you kind of become that you that you should have been the whole time, and you realize that you start realizing, especially if you're looking at psychology, you start realizing the role that the child you had, the person you were when you were a child, was the person you were supposed to be the entire time. The
Agree.
problem is we all get born in families that through generations and generations have been taught to destroy that. So, okay, well, that's what we have to work with for now. We're at a turning point on this, and we should make another show about this. Maybe our next show could be about that. But we're all, so that awakening right now is happening to piles of people. It's at an insane speed, and that's beautiful. That is just the most amazing thing. But there are
Angel?
also other awakenings that follow that one. And so when I speak of the duality, this is a realization that comes at a much later point. Now, um, in thoughts, like in as an ideology, it's not impossible to wrap your head around it. Like, basically, the law of duality is the fact that everything contains its own opposite by definition. So, a mountain can be tall or short, right? But one has to exist for the other to exist. Good, evil,
Mm-hmm.
all
Agree.
those things. What the law of duality states is that there's a way to look beyond those dualities, where those dualities, through what I'm going to say there is going to probably make no sense to most people. I'm not sure how else to say it. Through the union of both is where we move toward enlightenment because we're now setting ourselves above those human laws because they are human laws. The law of duality is a human trait. Other beings, like if you work in any kind of model that uses either spirits, angels, guides, if you're starting to enter those realms, you start gaining those kinds of informations about some of that stuff. Um, and the knowledge of God, what I meant by that was the intimate knowledge of God. Um, there's there's knowing God. I mean, my whole life I have felt a knowing for God, right? Like where I felt a presence, a something that was there. But at a certain point, you you can
When
gain a
you
more
Let me
direct
ask you something, Frank.
experience.
When you say we're all one,
Mhm.
is God included in that?
God is that,
Okay, so
but
then
we're also
how
nothing. That's where it gets complicated.
okay,
That's the
so
law of duality.
how do you explain that like an intimate knowing with God is not there if we are all one? Like that's what is confusing me in a way.
Okay, um, we've created different levels of imagery because our brain function the way they function, right? There's
But you believe
limitations
this
to our
is a
brain.
human thing, not a soul thing.
It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. The soul is particular to the human. No other entity has a
It's
soul
basically a
like we do.
personality.
Like
And
angels don't have a soul. Well, I mean they do, but they don't.
well, angels
It's
have
not the
never
same.
been in
It's not
human
like us.
form.
Well, that's what I mean, right? So that relationship is reserved to humans. It's a human thing. It's fine. It's there's so much more than humanity that exists. I can't describe it all. I don't know what it's all.
Right. This is
I
just
just know that it's
something we're here
there,
to
right?
do over and over again.
Now, Jessica, I hope that I help in any way in what I just described. And if you have more questions, please feel free. I sometimes get lost in because those are concepts that are very hard to understand unless they've been experienced. Now, I've also met people, and that should be another podcast, but I've also met people that experience some of those levels or tastes of some of those levels using drugs, using psychedelics.
Hmm.
Um, it's a whole
We don't
different
we don't
thing.
recommend that.
I don't know. I definitely don't. And I have a story of abuse, so I have used a lot of them. If ever it was something somebody was ever to consider, they would have to go
Oh,
look at
the only
somebody.
thing we
Go number one, go
recommend.
somewhere where it's legal, like Canada. Number
No,
two,
the only thing we recommend when it comes to consciousness is meditation. Like that's the only thing that we recommend, and an open mind.
I mean, that's the only thing I say everybody should do.
Yeah.
Aside from that, like everything else, it's open season. It's your
Hmm.
life. You do what you do
I
what you
mean,
want
it
to do.
is, but it's not our recommendation. FBI.
Yes, but I live in Canada. What do I care about the
Oh,
FBI?
I'm not in Canada, and I mean,
I
I
don't
don't recommend
recommend
it, and I
anything.
don't practice
I'm
it
not
either.
I'm not recommending people do it. I'm just saying if they do, find somebody that knows what they're doing because it's not something you just want to, you know, go out
It's
get
basically
and
to train your mind enough to be able to
it breaks down barriers. I've
be
done it.
open
It
to
breaks down
things.
barriers.
Um,
It absolutely does. Um,
because
how
I
about we make
mean,
that another podcast? Because we'll
yeah,
go
I mean,
deep
this could
in
go
that
on and
one.
on.
Yeah, yeah, that's
But
a deep
I can
subject.
remember
Very deep.
being at a red light, and you just waiting, and so I remember just looking at the sky and thinking to myself, "Oh my God, we are basically floating on a huge basketball, just like floating around in space." What
But
in
do
the
you
hell
have
is
any
going
idea
on?
how many of those basketballs there are?
I know, but here's the thing.
It's insane.
In a human life, we don't have time. Like our lives, well, the normal person, and I I probably shouldn't even use that word, but typically a person does not have time to just sit around wondering what the fuck we're doing, floating on a basketball in space. Excuse my French, but because
No, you have to
we have
make the
busy
time. If
lives. A
you,
lot of
it's
people have to
tough.
go to job, raise kids. Then there's events on the weekend, time with family, things like that. And we don't have time to sit down and actually think about this. But if you find the time to just sit down and think about, like, what is going on? How did we
But
get
I
here?
do. I do.
I
I
know, but
found the
like a
time.
lot of people don't. And I think that's why
But that's what I
we're
try to
so
help
busy in
people
life.
with. No, but that's the thing. That's what I try to help. You know what? There's a Buddhist saying that I love more than anything else, and it's if you like meditate 30 minutes a day. And if you don't have time to meditate 30 minutes a day, meditate an hour.
And
Because
actually I
there's a
would
problem. You can
when
find time if that's what you want to
when you
find.
start meditating, I would not recommend meditating 30 minutes because you're going to get aggravated
No,
with it.
of course not.
I would recommend starting with 3 minutes and move up every week. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes,
But yeah, I
ten
don't think
minutes.
the Buddhists were trying to give practical advice there. I don't think they
Yeah.
were trying to give practical advice. That was more of a it's a saying.
But to me,
But
it's
it
just so
makes
weird
sense
to
though.
think about the things that are going on. And
Like if somebody
it's
tells me
like,
I don't have time to stop during the day and breathe, then there's way bigger problems to look at. Because
hmm
listen, I don't care what you think is important in your life. Breathing properly for X amount of time in a day is more important. Way more important than anything you can mention to me. I can guarantee it. You can put aside any of those things and you will gain a benefit by stopping in your day and at least like 10, 15 minutes. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Do 2 minutes. That's the
yeah.
way you learn, right? But the important part is to stick at it, stick to it, and eventually all of a sudden you can do 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 12 minutes, 13, 15, 20, and eventually, like I remember once where I sat in meditation, and for some reason that day I was excessively comfortable, and I went, how long could I meditate? And I meditated for an hour and 45 minutes. And I was like, whoa, that what the hell just happened? Like that was just crazy. But that's not something I do every day. Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is eventually you reach a point where you're like, and the nice part is when you reach a point where you can just close your eyes. Like, okay, here's a pet peeve of mine. Somebody who's never done sitting meditation, when they tell me, oh no, I meditate doing my dishes, I feel like saying, and this is just me. This is my own reaction. It's not it's not an official position of anything. But I think, yeah, no, you're not,
Well,
because when somebody does sitting meditation, they can say that because they have experienced a state that once practiced for a certain amount of time, you can bring yourself back into at a moment's notice. But you
but
can't do that doing your dishes. Like, doing your dishes is doing your dishes. You're thinking about your day and doing your dishes. You're not meditating. There's a difference. And unless people are taught the difference, they're going to keep thinking, I'm meditating, and they're not. Their life is not going to change doing their dishes.
hold on, let me send this live to somebody that's asking me. But here's the thing. We meditate whether we know it or not. Like you're driving in your
No, we
car.
don't. I don't think so.
Yes, we do.
Not at
I
all.
disagree. That's just something we're gonna have to disagree on
Okay,
because
so what is
your
meditation then? Because we disagree on what is meditation.
meditation is, well, of course we do because I sit in the power and meditate, and that's the difference. So meditation is basically daydreaming, and people daydream all the time. Like that's an everyday occurrence.
Okay, we don't have the same definition.
No. And then sitting in the power is being aware of your surroundings, like which everybody should be aware of right now. Let me just tell you, because there's so many crazy things going on. being aware of your surroundings. Um, maybe it could be the sound of your air condition kicking on or your ice box kicking on, but just being aware of what's around you. Whereas meditation is kind of like daydreaming. It's just using your imagination.
Okay, that's where we have a big difference. That's why
So tell me what
I
yours
see.
is.
My description of meditation is clearing your mind. It's actually letting those thoughts be and not paying attention to them.
So like when I'm telling somebody how to meditate, I will say allow the thoughts to come in. I won't say to clear your mind because if you try to clear your mind,
Did you hear what I
um,
said?
yeah,
Okay, what did I say?
you said your idea of meditation is clearing your mind.
No, I said more than that.
Well, say what else you said.
By letting those thoughts be and not paying attention to them.
But there's letting them be or acknowledging. See, when you say not paying attention, I'm saying pay attention.
Okay, now
Not
we're gonna go to
necessarily put your
semantics.
attention to them, but acknowledge them. Because if you don't acknowledge them, they're going to come more. It's going to be more frequent. If you acknowledge them, they're just going to
Well, yeah, because
disappear.
you're gonna let those ones be. That's what you're
Right.
doing. All you're doing is letting the thoughts be. You're not attaching any importance to them. But that's
But you
where the
still have to
skill comes
acknowledge them.
into.
Where the what?
You don't. Well, you do, but you don't. Like at first you do. At first you acknowledge them because you're all of your focus is on the thoughts at that point. There's
Well, you
nothing else but thoughts. Like that's where you're at first, right? So when you start meditating, you're full of thoughts. So then you're like, okay, I'm going to clear my mind. That doesn't work. Everybody's saying clear your mind because, yes, down the line, you will clear your mind. But today, you're not going to clear your mind because you're full of thoughts. You're coming in with zero practice,
hmm
nothing. That's where I tell people use a breathing meditation. And I give people the fourfold meditation where you breathe in for a count of four, hold for a count of four, breathe out for a count of four, and then hold for a count of four.
and we
What
do
this
5 or 3.
does, it doesn't, yeah, that's it. It doesn't really matter. But when you start introducing a pattern of breathing, now you're giving one part of the mind somewhere to be busy. So it's
hmm
counting, it's trying to figure out the breath, it's going, oh, I'm breathing through my nose, my mouth, my, whatever. All the details that get fed become, so they occupy the mind. Now, at first, you're not clearing your mind because right from the start, you're occupying it. Now, what's going to happen is your dishes, your whatever is going to come into play. And
What's
it's going to
cooking
go,
for
oh, da da da.
supper?
Yeah, all that's going to come. Now, as you say, at that point, what you do is you say, well, thanks for coming. Notice for supper. But right now, we're trying to breathe and meditate. I'm going to let you go for now. And you just sort of let it go. You let it be. It's hard to describe, right? But it's you let it be. And you move on. But with the breathing, what's interesting is you can then refocus on the breathing and it makes you go away from that thought and it goes away. And so you do that, and at first it's excruciating. It's hard. It's not easy to do. It's awkward. It's weird, but eventually it just gets easier and easier and easier. And at some point, you just don't even notice. Like I don't. I'll notice my thoughts. Like I'll get lost in thoughts, and then all of a sudden, just notice and be like, oh, and it becomes easier to push it aside, right? Like because
hmm
you've done it 1,000 times, right?
hmm
And so, but that's what's dangerous because people say, oh, clear your mind. No, at first, it's not going to work. At first,
Mm-mm.
it's a
You
jump.
can't clear your mind. You have to acknowledge.
Yeah, yeah. And 2 minutes might be all you can do, or three, or five, or 10. You do what you can. But the
That's
important
why it's
part
easier to
is,
start with a lesser time. That way it's
yes,
easier to clear your mind and it's kind of like training your mind. You just training your mind to be able to stop and think of what you want it to think of. Um
yeah.
but it takes time and practice and it's just like anything else. Like when a baby starts walking, they'll take 2 or 3 steps, not walk the block, you know,
It's
if that
funny
makes sense.
because it does. It's funny because we tell people all the time, right? All the answers are within, all the answers are within. And it's like the last thing that anybody teaches anybody is how to stop and look within.
But I think a
It's
lot of
like,
it has to do with like when people start to meditate, they will feel those thoughts coming through, so they think, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't meditate." And then they'll stop trying and stop
mm-hmm,
practicing.
yes.
So, like if you have thoughts coming through, acknowledge them and let them go and keep practicing. Like don't give up just because you had thoughts coming in your
It's
mind.
like not doing your laundry because there's dirt on your clothes.
Hmm.
It's exactly what it is, right? You're going like, yeah, but this shirt looks pretty dirty. Yeah, okay, keep washing. keep
Keep
Eventually the
scrubbing.
shirt will look clean. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing, right? Keep on. The thoughts are the whole reason we do this because we need to get over those thoughts. We need to get above them. We need to be able to see them and go, oh shit, look at this crap. Oh my god, is this what I think? And from there, like a lot of self knowledge can be gained because wow, we think a lot of weird stuff. I did. I still do actually.
Yeah, I do too.
Thanks,
It's not
Jessica.
as bad, but I mean, we all have that. Like that's common. That's very common. That, but it's not a reason to stop and give up.
No, that's it. I mean, nothing is. Why? It's the only purpose that we're here is to move forward toward enlightenment. So, and I mean, I'm not saying that everybody's going to reach it this life. That's not what I'm saying, obviously. But it's what we're here for. So build good karma, do the right stuff so that your next life maybe a tiny bit faster, or maybe I have sort of a belief where every life you're going to come in and you may go through some of the same steps but just faster. You know what I mean? So you'll be like where let's say this lifetime you were awakened at 60. Next lifetime you awaken at 30, which gives you 30 more years of whatever, right? Like every lifetime you kind of get a little bit more but sometimes it comes in a rough way, sadly. But I guess that's the way humans work for now.
Um, as far as lifetimes go, no, I'm gonna change the subject if I'd like bring that up.
Okay,
So I'm not gonna bring that up.
but why? All
I
right.
was just I was thinking about like as far as lifetimes go, um, what's your thought on some people think that you're reincarnated instantly. Some people think that you have to learn, so you go through different phases before you're reincarnating, like go through your life, heal from your life, learn from your life. So I was thinking what was your thoughts on that?
If if I was to take the model I kind of tend to follow, I mean, I'm not attached to it. Like if somebody brought a better one, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." But I would tend to say that we reincarnate right away. One theory I read, anyways, which I really liked, was that we reincarnate right away. But not only that, we remember the life that we just lived. Now, because we're born as a baby, we now have an issue. We're gonna die unless we do something about it real soon, real
Hmm.
soon. And we have none of the means that we're used to available to us because we were an adult 3 seconds ago. And we're
Hmm.
going, holy crap, what do I do? Okay, I guess scream. And we scream. And that's, but through that traumatic sort of series of events that follows, because let's face it, being a baby must not be very
Okay,
restful.
here's a good subject for you. What's your thought on um the word is like escaping me. So
Now, those are all
there's
just opinions, right? Like, those are all
oh yeah,
beliefs.
all of our things are opinions. So there's a such thing as like um gosh, y'all, the word is escaping me. When someone's born, and they live part of their life, but another soul comes in and takes over that life.
There is
I
a
can't
name.
think of the word.
A not a jump in. A
It's kind of a jump in.
it sounds like that. Yes, I can't. If anybody knows in the audience, please help us. Like I know I've heard about that, and I've seen
I
people.
would
I haven't
love to
met
know
them,
what people
but
think about this. It's a step in soul or something like
step in.
this.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. It's
Very interesting to
supposedly
me. I've met somebody that says she did do this, and I was like,
really.
"Oh, you're full of shit." Not that I don't believe in it. I just didn't believe her.
I met
It's
somebody
very
that might have
possible,
had
and
it
it does
happen and
happen. It's
didn't know.
rare.
I had somebody that might have had it happen, or I don't know.
Step
She
in
had
soul.
something happen.
Is it
She
step
had
in?
something happen. She instantly ended up with like intense knowledge of math.
A walk in.
A
Walk
walk
in
in, yes,
soul.
that's it. You got it. You got it. Um,
So I've studied this only a little bit, but it's a very interesting subject.
yeah,
It's
it is
very
kind of cool.
interesting. And anybody
So, what
heard of
about
a
the
walk
person
in
you know?
soul?
Like, what does they? What do they? Hi,
Hey Myrna, how
hi,
you
Myrna.
doing? Myrna's my favorite Illinois friend.
Nice.
Myrna, have you ever heard of walk in souls?
Put her on the spot, right?
Myrna has a very high intuition. She's very gifted.
nice.
She just doesn't realize it. She's not sure. Okay, you've heard of
She'll
walk
come
in
to it.
souls. So what's
She'll
your
come to
take
it.
on a walk in soul? Like, do you think you've ever met a walk in soul?
I know I haven't. I don't. I don't think I have. Well, I mean, I might have.
Or would you know?
Oh, bad
Oh,
experience.
she said
Ooh.
bad experience. Would you know, Frank, if you met a walk in soul?
Not instant. I don't think I would know instantly. I don't. I have no way of
Do you
knowing
think the
whether.
soul would know? So Nick's asking what a walk in soul is. So here's how this could work. This is my opinion, okay? So someone can start a life, incarnate into a body, and then decide that they don't want to be in life anymore, or maybe they couldn't complete it. And so someone, another soul, would step in and allow that soul to leave. This could happen with like a near death experience, um, or
Yeah,
they could
there's
just
usually an
switch.
event.
Yeah, or they
There's
could just
usually a.
switch. But would the soul know
Well,
once it's
people say
in the
they do.
body?
People say they would. That they feel as though there's a feeling that you're not.
But you
You're
understand
lacking a
that
chunk of your
sometimes,
life. You're lacking a chunk of your life, supposedly.
yeah, I
I
get
don't know.
that. But here's the thing. I mean, wouldn't you feel differently?
Well, that's yeah,
Well,
that's what is
wouldn't you?
reported.
But here's the thing. When a baby's born, they don't remember their past lives. They don't remember their soul contract, making their soul contracts. So would you feel different? Or would you just have the knowledge of the other soul?
And is it possible that some would, some won't,
And yes,
some
I think it's very
you know what I mean?
possible.
Like it's
Just like
that's my
some people
problem
are
with
gifted
everything
and
these
some
days.
people not that, but this can happen later in life. It
Yes, that's the
can.
whole point.
So
Is that it
here's the
happens at some point in your life.
I've been reading a lot this weekend. So here's something that I've read. Um,
Yeah,
a life
and
is about to be born,
that's very true, Jesse.
incarnated, and now we have free will, and things happen that are not planned in our life. Plan attachment's very different from walk-in.
Yes.
Attachment, yes, very very different. Attachment would be an entity or a spirit. Well, it would be
Yes.
a ghost attached to you. Um, a soul attachment. Yes, it would be like a ghost attached to you. Someone that don't let me forget where I was, Frank, because I'm gonna lose my track. A
Really,
soul
you're
that's
asking me.
a spirit that someone that dies, their spirit does not cross into the light. They need energy. So they have to attach to someone, okay? Because they have to get energy somewhere. Because unless you cross into the light, you need to get it. So that would be a soul attachment. A soul, what's my word? Um,
Attachment.
Step in
Oh, step in. Oh,
would
the no
be
walk in.
it could actually be planned in your soul contract. You could plan to only live half of your life and have another soul come in and take the other half. That it could be planned. Um, so a step in, it could happen for many reasons. Maybe you
There
just
may be a
feel like
reason for them to skip childhood because really,
it could be, yep. Sometimes
yeah.
they don't want to go through the childhood stages. They don't want to like be born into as a baby. Like they just want to get on with it, like impatient like me. So it could be that, or it could be um the soul just gave up and didn't think they could finish with life, so they stepped out, and another soul that thought they could finish stepped in. It could be that simple. But
It's
it could
always
be a
been
number of
puzzling to me.
things.
Yeah, it's always been
It's a
like, okay,
very,
I
very
don't know.
interesting subject.
It's
Should this be a subject for a different day, Frank, or should we?
I think well, neither one of us would be an expert, so we need somebody that's an
No, I
expert.
mean,
We
I
need
don't think that
someone
I'm an
that would
expert
know.
on anything, but
No, but I mean, we have the things we do, right? Like, I mean, if I
yeah,
ask
I
you to
have
speak
some
about
knowledge.
mediumship, we may be able to fill some time, right?
Maybe. Myrna, how's my mediumship?
Did she leave us? Um, so yes, but I guess we went so far from our topic at this point.
Oh, definitely. But it's such an interesting topic. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist myself. How I'm asking you, how's my mediumship? Do you
Yeah,
think that I'm
but she
good at
talked
what I
about it
do,
for a while.
or I need the praise? Sometimes she makes
It's
me
because I said
uncomfortable.
if she was talking about mediumship, we could go on for a while because
Yeah.
she would.
Myrna has like
It was in retrospect.
some different beliefs than what I have. I know I have different beliefs than you, Frank, but
Maybe
Myrna
it's
has
you.
different
No,
beliefs than us.
I'm joking.
But Myrna's very, very, very gifted. So
Beliefs are just that,
basically,
though. They're beliefs. That's okay. Here's the deal. Why did I call my like the boundless mind the boundless mind? That's precisely why. Because that's what beliefs. They're just beliefs,
that's
right?
right.
We can have different beliefs and come to the same place, or we can share beliefs and that can bring us to a different place, or
Thank
we
you,
can.
Myrna.
But if you play with beliefs, it's you can accomplish so much, right? By going, okay, this belief, is it serving me? Is it helping me? Shit, no. Okay, well then I'll believe something else. And you can. And nothing is stopping you. Like the only thing that stops us from any beliefs is what people will think. It's the only reason
Do
ever
you
given.
think that like the everyday people like in public hold you back from um, pro progressing in your development
That
per se?
everyday people.
Like, let me put it this way. Um, if you meet up with somebody in a supermarket,
Yeah, yeah.
um, would you be prone to tell them that you practice magic, or would you like not say that for fear of judgment?
I wouldn't hide it. I wouldn't hide it. I wouldn't. Well, I mean, it depends. If the person is all decked out with three crosses in their on their neck and they're like, they're like using prayer beads before we engage. I mean, why would I bring it up? Like, I can probably predict that that's not going to be a conversation that would go well, and why would I? I mean, you know what I mean. I don't
You
talk quantum physics with my 8-year-old either,
you
right?
know
Because
what's a
they're not
great
ready for
topic though,
it.
Frank? A great topic would be how just the general public, friends, family, people in general think that we know everything.
Oh,
Like
not
they
me.
think
I
if
don't.
you say no, let me talk about me. If I say, "Hey, I do psychic work. I connect with spirits." they meet me up and they're like scared of me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, she knows my whole life story." No, I don't.
Oh,
Like
that. I
that would be a great subject.
I try not to. Kids are very aware of it, but adults are not aware that I know everything about them. My daughter is excessively, and she tells others. She's
But
like,
do
"Oh,
you
you
know
can't say
everything
shit to
though?
my dad. You can't." No,
Do you
no, but no, I
do you
don't. But what I'm saying is, I connect with people, and I immediately can tell a general sense of where they're coming from, and so
just
I'll
because
instantly
you're
know how to interact with them. Like it
but
really.
you're judging their personality though, right? Like you don't go into their mind like
No, it's
people
because I'm an
think,
empath. No, I get their emotions. It's because
right?
I'm an empath.
And that's natural. That's like normal. But
But
like
it's
people
no,
think that I know their
that's an
private
empath.
lives.
Yeah,
No,
that's an empath. I know their private lives.
I don't know
When I
their
see
private
you and your
lives.
wife, when I see you and your wife for the first time, and we have
My
coffee,
way.
by the end of that, anybody, people, when I
Okay.
see somebody and their wife, or somebody and their friend, or whatever, for the very first time ever, I can tell you almost everything about their relationship. I can tell you if it's going well, if it's not going well, whose fault it is, who, well, it's both faults, but why the dynamic
Yeah,
is not
usually both
working,
folks.
what is going on. And now,
But here's the
that's
thing,
being an
Frank.
empath. But here's the thing, though. Some say it's a gift that we have, and
Mhm.
some say it's something we develop. It's because when I was 2 years old, I was getting beat up by people, and my parents were beating the shit out of each other. So I was not exactly in a place where I could function normally. So what I learned to do is to immediately assess a person's emotions, immediately assess a person's demeanor based on, like the smallest details, right? Because immediately it was like a survival thing. If I wanted to ask my dad something, I better make sure that he was in a good mood, that he wasn't in one of his bad moods. So by learning that as a defense mechanism, partly, but also I think it was already there because I could feel my parents' emotions, and that I was not equipped to deal with. They were emotions I didn't understand.
Mhm.
So I was not equipped to deal with them. So I was, my entire, like, the first 5 years of my life were a complete, how can this be? Like this cannot be what we, like, it made no sense. There was zero, like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure my parents attempted, everything that most parents do, whatever, but there was enough disturbance in the
Give me a
force
second.
that, it didn't really work.
I don't give me a second.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
I dressed Myrna. You heard what she said. She thinks you should read her. Myrna, he is not a psychic.
I'm
Well, he
not.
does not believe he is a psychic.
I don't call myself a psychic. I don't. Okay, reading others is something that happens really weirdly with me. It's not like I did a tarot reading last week. I did a one card thing. And it's something for me that happens spontaneously. It's not something I do. It's not something I. In coaching, I do it because when I coach someone, I'm. When somebody's telling me, I call it the story, right? I'm not listening to the story. I'm listening to what's under the story. I'm listening to what it is that is going on inside of that person because I typically can tell that. Now, when it comes to readings, what's been happening to me only in the last couple of years is that I'll go on a Facebook group or somewhere and somebody will say something or ask for a reading. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, for some reason, I'm on some groups where people just constantly ask for reading. Well, not anymore, but for a while I was on a group where people asked for readings, and I was like, that's not me, right? But then every so often there would be one that I would go like, oh my god, and I would write like 12 paragraphs of an answer and then press send and go, what just happened? and I have no idea. And typically those people will answer and go, "Wow, yeah, that's exactly it." And I'm like, I don't know, but it doesn't have. It's not a. I
Let's
mean,
just say he has not accepted his gift yet.
that's a big part of it. All right. So now that we've been there, that is a big part of it. Believe it or not, people talk about shadow work, and that's a very important thing to know about shadow work. It's not all just bad stuff. One of my shadows, one of my biggest shadows, was the fact that I'm a spiritual person. Nobody in my life knew. It was in my shadows. That's what it means to have something in your shadows. And so sometimes we're looking for nefarious things in our shadows. And it's like, no, you can also be hiding really good things about you because people in your life have told you they were bad things. First off, shed everything everybody's ever told you. Then start new. That's my that's my idea of this. What are you concentrating on?
I just got a notification that Louisiana is under a red
Oh,
flag warning. You know what that is?
I don't.
That means we're
From
prone for
the.
fire due to the temperatures, like you know what California
Oh,
gets.
okay, yeah, yeah.
And that kind of freaked me out a little bit. It just came today, and
Huh.
I'm like, huh? I'm about to move north for the like summer. Not the birds fly south for the winter. I'm gonna
Don't
go
you live in
north
the
for the
swamps
summer.
though? How does that work? How can there
I
be
don't know.
fire in the
Like, yeah,
swamps?
shouldn't the swamp water like stop this fire? I don't know, but it kind of freaked me out because we've never. This is the first that I know
Oh,
of.
weird, weird. It's
But
because they're.
okay,
It's the same
I'll
temperature it's
fly
always been. They're
north
now.
for the summer.
It's because now, instead of just
It
telling
just
us
came through
the.
like 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's because now instead of telling us the temperature, they give us big warnings because they want it to sound bad.
I mean, we had a freaking cool front last night. What more y'all want?
That's exactly it.
And the hurricane wind should blow the fires out.
But Jill, we must keep you scared. As long
Yes,
as
of
you're
course.
scared, we can control
That's
you.
why I don't watch the news. But yet I get these freaking news warnings on my phone that freak me out.
Yeah, I know, eh? Because
So
all of a
good for
sudden you're
not
like out
watching
of
the
the loop
news.
and you're like, what? What just happened? We what? What do you mean California got invaded? What do you mean nobody stopped it? Well, all right.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Let me go other places with that. 'Cause that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not even my
Oh, that's weird.
parish, so whatever.
Okay, so you're not in danger.
Not that I know of.
Perfect, because I have no means of doing anything for you from here.
No, you're like
I'm a
stuck,
little
just like
far.
I am stuck.
I'm a little far. Let me brave the Canadian weather to come and see you. It's not that bad yet. We're still warm, ish.
Yeah, you can't even get in the United States.
No, but I have. I don't wish to these days though. I'll wait a
I
little
wouldn't
bit.
wish to be either if I wouldn't have everything I own here.
Although it's not like Canada's that much better. We have Trudeau who's like messing up everything. But we probably shouldn't get
In fact,
political here.
Myrna's from Canada.
Oh, is she? There you go.
Last night she told me the United
That's
States
why
laws are
she's
so
cool.
stupid.
That's why she's cool. Well, yeah, the United States is kind of right now
It is.
a
Yeah,
little bit.
I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed. I'm not from. I'm from the UK.
Well, everything that's going on with Russia and whatever, it's just insane, man. You guys are like you're going all over the place, like seeding all
Yeah,
kinds of wars, and it's like, okay, dude, like really?
yeah. Let's stop
Like,
sticking your nose in Russia's
how many
business,
freaking
USA.
wars do you need?
Okay,
Like,
worry about your own people. Hello, here I am. I need help too.
it's because wars make them money. That's why they make
Ridiculous.
lots of money when they're at war. So, but
So,
okay, so I guess we're not really talking about the levels of consciousness anymore.
okay. Well, I wanted to go back to that.
Okay.
So, um,
Oh yuck. That's yeah.
I'm
Let's.
gonna.
We probably should avoid that because then I'll voice a whole bunch of
I know
unpopular
you will,
opinions
but
and
that's what we do.
yeah, I know, but They're
So
unpopular with YouTube and Facebook too. So
the first three states of consciousness um are the waking consciousness, deep sleep, and the dreaming state of sleep, are known to every human being with the functional nervous system. I want to look at you. Um,
oh, because yes, you're set up.
yeah, because my camera's here and you're here, and like it drives me crazy when I'm talking to somebody, but I can't see them. So the last four levels are transcendental, cosmic, God, and unity consciousness are usually not available right away. These states of consciousness comes more with like awakening, with like the more you could. I couldn't take the flight without.
Uploading. That's why I made the comment. I was like, okay, we got
Oh,
to be
okay.
careful
I
here
don't know what
because
that
we're
means
talking
though.
about the ArriveCAN application is the application that Canada had to when you get into Canada up until the 1st of October. If you get into Canada, you have to provide that. It's an app that they basically track you with.
I mean,
And this is why we don't want to have those conversations with friends
yeah,
because
they're
it
gonna
will.
keep doing this shit. But anyway, the higher levels of consciousness would be like silence. Like if someone tells you something and you know they wrong, like me and Frank, let's take that for instance. Me and Frank don't agree on a lot of things. We do agree on a lot of things and we have a lot of things in common, but we have different ways of viewing things.
Yeah, because
So
I agree with
to
everything you say.
you, I know, well, to you, the viewer, it may seem like we're not agreeing. We're both open minded and we both hear each other out
They're
to see if we
models.
change our mind, and that's okay. But when you're in a lower state of consciousness, you just wouldn't agree with somebody. Like if your consciousness is higher, then you would hear them out and you would think maybe that could be right. Like maybe my way's not right. So
Well,
it'd
it's
be
because
more
they're
open
all right.
mindedness.
Well, because they're all right. All the ways are right. That's the weird. That's the
And
weird
yeah,
part of it
but
all.
you and I know that. But someone that's not evolved and has a lower state of consciousness might just want to
But that's
argue
it.
with
But that's
this.
what those levels of consciousness
Right,
awaken.
right.
That's exactly what it awakens is that ability to see it, that ability to
To
go.
to be able to see other people's points of view and think that, oh, maybe I'm wrong. And
It's
where are you
maybe
from,
we're
Frank?
both right. Where am I from? Oh, Montreal. How
Montreal.
would you know I'm from Montreal?
She's
That's a
psychic.
good
I
one.
told you that.
That's a funny one. Myrna Pierre. Uh-huh.
And like when you're at the highest state of consciousness, you
Mhm.
may just it's total bliss because it really doesn't matter. Just like when people think things about you, like you may always look at people. Oh gosh, here we go,
All
Jess.
right.
I'm not even always right,
But
Jessica.
no, that's the thing. People think that an enlightened
No,
person
she's
is a
like me and
perfect
you.
person.
Like me and her butt heads.
Oh, that's
It's
okay.
okay. She's a circle member. It's okay, but we butt heads a lot.
With
We're
Jessica or with Myrna?
Jessica.
Jessica? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because she's
Um.
always right, and so are you.
Yeah. Typically, but sometimes. Let's leave it at that. um. So here's the thing. When I don't even remember what I was saying now.
You're talking about the. Well, we were not even yet at the God consciousness. We're still at the whether the cosmic or the.
We're deepening bliss and
But we're getting
finding
deeper.
a joy in everything. Like if you doing something you don't want to do, you're happy about doing that.
No, you
Like
just don't do it. You just don't do things
that,
that don't
or
make you
you
happy.
could be just happy about doing that. It could be like a relationship type thing. Like sometimes I don't like things, but you do things for your partner and you expect the same from them. I mean, we can go there with that. It's not typical
It's so
to
much more than
go
that,
there
though.
with that,
It's
but
not. It's not
it's a lot
everyday.
of things.
No, but that's the thing though. Like the God, like those levels are not everyday things. Those levels are far from being everyday
No,
things. Those levels
it
are.
takes work because I'm not gonna lie. Like when I have a feeling about something or I have a knowing about something, and somebody disagrees with me, I want to prove my point. But when you're at a higher state of consciousness, you know that it's pointless to prove your point. Like it does not matter. When things don't matter,
They
that's
matter
when
to
your
your ego. They
consciousness
only
is
matter
high.
to your ego.
Right.
That's the point of it.
That's where the ego comes in. The ego is a problem.
No, the ego's not a problem.
It,
That's the
it
thing.
the
The
ego is a
ego
big
serves a
problem in
purpose.
psychic
It's
mediumship.
not. No, the ego is it serves a purpose. It's just we let it serve other purposes
It's a
that it's
human
not supposed
purpose.
to. No, no,
But the
but
thing
look,
is with
if you
mediumship,
don't erase your everybody's always like, oh, kill the ego, kill your ego, see what happens. You'll cross the road and get hit by a car because you will not have
right,
a
but that's a
sense of
human
self.
thing.
No,
That's a human
yes,
thing.
it's a human thing, but that's what we're talking about, isn't it? The human levels of consciousness.
No, because if you get to God consciousness, you have no ego.
No, you have an ego. You've transcended that ego. You're still, if as long as
Same
you're
thing.
human, you have an ego. It's not the same thing because people
Yes.
try to
It's
kill the ego, and that's a dangerous practice. That is a
right.
very, very. If there's ever one thing I can say that the spiritual community is at risk from, is people saying kill the ego, because it's not. You have to build a healthy ego.
Hmm.
Then you have to transcend the ego. Now, that has been called by Eastern Buddhists and by people that were at the enlightenment level, have
Hmm.
called it kill the ego. The problem is, until you're at any of those closer levels, the understanding of kill the ego is absolutely twisted because it doesn't mean
I
actually
mean,
kill it.
I understand that you can't. Like, let's say,
You need your ego. You
let me
need
just
it.
give an example. Let's say I do a reading and I get a lot of stuff right. Um, I might get excited. Oh yeah, I got it right. But at the same time, it's not about that. I don't want to explain this the wrong way.
The whole thing
So
is to transcend your ego. Your ego. The same as through
yeah.
meditation, you transcend your thoughts, right?
Hmm.
Like you turn when you're meditating, right? That's where I was going with the different how the different levels interact. When you
Hmm.
meditate, you transcend your thoughts and emotions, right? You start dissociating from them and going, okay, those are not me. Now, part of that is your ego that's separating from them. But it's another part of you as well that's separating. That's your inner self. Your inner self is separate from your ego.
But in mediumship, ego is bad because it doesn't. When you have a big ego, it's because you're happy that you did something right, but it doesn't matter who does it right in mediumship. The only thing that matters is that the sitter or the person needing healing gets that healing.
Mm-hmm.
And when the ego is gone, it doesn't matter to me if you gave the healing or if I gave the healing, as long as the person got the healing. That makes sense.
But what's the ego got to do with it, though? That's what I'm not sure.
Because the ego is like the person wanting to get it right, like wanting to make that connection, whereas the person that makes the connection is not, it's not important because because the connection is for the healing, not
Okay.
for, it's not for bragging rights. Let's put it
Okay,
that
I see
way.
what you mean.
Like,
Well, but that's the same thing I always say is the main danger of magic. That's what I always say is the huge danger behind
mhm.
any spiritual practice that will bring you any kind of an ability has that danger because we have the ego, because we have to be mindful of that ego. Our ego is gonna. I have a close friend who's actually going through something like that right now. She has like she's a very very aware person spiritually, and she helps people and whatever. And her business has gone up like massively in record time, right? And you can see that everything she presents all of a sudden started morphing a little bit, because that's
Hmm.
the danger that we all have, is once we taste that, our ego starts going, oh, that's what we want. But the reality is, you didn't start off with thinking this is what I want. You didn't want the money, the fame, those things are of the ego. Now if you look at, we talk
But
about
there's some
demons and
people that do
angels.
want that money and that fame. That's where I'm coming from. Like that's what I mean. Like when in psychic mediumship anyway, that's the only thing that I'm referring to here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when someone wants to do mediumship because they want to be known and they want to make money, that's bad. That's really, really
Yeah, yeah.
bad. Like,
Well,
yeah,
but that's what
it's
I'm saying. We're
okay to
not we're not disagreeing here.
it's so true mediumship, you are present, but also not completely present. Sometimes half in trance, it's hard in that zone to let the ego to kick in. But trance is a different sort of mediumship. That's not the mediumship I practice. Trance, that's a whole nother subject. But let me just put it this way. I've had students come to me that couldn't make a connection and start making connections. And I've had like I'm not sure if it's two or three, but I've had a couple of students that all of a sudden, bam, they making good connections, and I've called them aside and they would get excited after they would make these connections, and I'd be like, listen, I'm not trying to freak you out, but you getting excited is your ego, and if your ego is big, it's gonna be taken away from you. You're gonna be tested. Like one day, you just won't be able to do it,
Yeah, but what's
and
important here is to not is like you say, not let it take over. Not You're not
right.
eradicating it. You're just not letting it take over because it
Right,
has a
but some
bad.
people do let it take over because it's so
Well,
easy
yeah,
to empower you.
that's the whole story of the Bible. That's
The
what the
Bible.
good versus evil, demons and angels is all about. It's about us versus our ego. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's the story of us versus our ego.
But it's hard not to let it take over because you get excited. Not
Yeah.
just that you can do it, but you get excited that you've helped people.
Well, no, there's a
And then
reward.
all of a
There's an
sudden it's like,
instant
bam, it's
reward.
gone.
There's a
And
reward when
people
you do it.
that are developing, they wonder, well, why is it gone? Well, it's gone because your ego got in the way and you're being tested because this is not about you being famous. This is not about you making money. This is about you healing as many people as you can. So we're going in a different track right here, but the ego is very important in mediumship anyway. I know that's not our discussion,
But in any
but
spirituality, the ego,
it's
well, in any
very very
human,
important.
the ego is important for any human being, period.
And
I don't care what you're practicing, it's
I've
important.
had one student in particular that like flipped out because I told her ahead of time. I'm like, it's about to be taken away from you. And when it got taken away from her, she was like, "Oh my god, she must have like put a spell on me or did something to me because like I can't do it anymore." And I
I don't
was like,
get why
"No,
that would happen,
like I
though.
warned you."
Why would that happen?
Because spirit does not want you to be just proud. It's not you doing the work. Uh, it is in a sense, but you're doing their work. Like you work for spirit. Spirit doesn't work for you. Spirit does not come to you because you want a message. Spirit comes to you because you're delivering their message. So, in a sense, like let's say you want to let's say somebody asks you a specific question to ask their loved one in spirit, you might not get that answer because it doesn't matter what you want to know. It matters what they want to say. And you're working for them. They're not working for you. They're not coming here to help you. They are helping you, but they're do you understand what I'm saying? Like, am I going crazy with this?
I do. I do.
Like they're coming here to get across the message they feel is important, not what you or the sitter feels is important. Just like a sitter that wants to talk to a specific spirit, that spirit might not come through. You can't promise a sitter, yes, if you want to talk to your mom, I'm gonna get your mom, because if your auntie has a more important message or your auntie's louder than your mom, that's who's coming. And when you got that, when the ego comes comes through and you're all excited that you got that, they're gonna be like, well, and I mean they don't actually say this, but this is just my interpretation. What a fucking know it all bitch. Like I'm not gonna work with her. And you lose it. It's
I don't
gone.
think. Okay, I tend to have a different approach on the. I don't
That's
think it's.
fine.
I don't think it's the entities that are refusing you. I think it's you that has closed yourself to the entities. That's what ego does.
No.
That's what ego does. Is it
You see, here's the
shades.
thing. If you watch my YouTube videos, you'll see where I tell students, like, they're like, okay, well, Jill, that's all I got. Like, they'll give a reading. That's all I got. No. Spirit is not walking out the door. They are still with you. That is not all you got. That's a different situation. I'm talking about where you can't make a connection at all compared to
Mhm.
spirit sitting there and all of a sudden you can't give any more information. And that's where I push my students. I'm like, try harder. Like they're there. They are communicating with you,
Yeah,
try
yeah.
harder.
What I'm
But
saying is
when
not
but
that.
when
What
you
I'm.
get all excited and next week you can't make a connection at all,
Mhm.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about as well. What I'm saying though is I don't believe it's spirit that makes the decision. It's your ego that blinds you
It's
to
definitely
spirit.
mm,
You're blinded to spirit is there all the time. Spirit does not
definitely
and
every
spirit
day.
and spirit does not judge people. They don't go, oh, you're good or you're not good. No, we make ourselves good or not. We make ourselves receptive or not receptive. We we always talk about vibrations. We make ourselves
Let's
vibrate a certain way. And if we stop
Yeah.
vibrating that way, we stop receiving those vibrations as well. And so when your ego kicks in, you stop vibrating at those vibrations. You stop vibrating at most useful
let's
vibrations.
put it
That's
this
the
way.
danger of ego.
Spirit's not coming here for you to have bragging rights. They're coming here to heal their loved one. And when they're trying to give you a message to heal their loved one and you're like getting all excited and you're like pulling bragging rights from this, they're going to be like, well, and again, I'm not speaking for spirit in here. I am not connected by any way. I'm just
Mhm.
telling you my interpretation of that. They'll be like, well, what a fucking bitch. Like, she is snobby. Like, we don't want to work with her. And
Yeah, I don't believe in judgmental spirits. That's where I
not
give up on that
necessarily
one.
judgmental, but
Well, that
if
is judgmental. It's
it
this
is
person
in
is
a
not doing
way,
it right.
it is in a way, but if you're doing it in a way that you're not, if your heart is
If
not in helping people and your heart is in fame or money, they're just not going to connect with you.
okay, from a magician's standpoint, if you're inviting spirits that are making those types of decisions on you, stop. It's unsafe.
No, Frank.
From a magician's standpoint, anything I invite in my circle is going to be safe, unless I
And
know
we
full
do it.
well what I'm inviting
We
and full
do
well how to get rid
intentions
of
to be
it.
safe. We do
But what I'm
intentions to
saying
be
is,
safe.
I
And you,
don't give any of my life up to them. They don't decide anything.
oh, they decide everything in medium show.
Well, if you let them, yes, of course. Like
I mean,
everybody
we have
else. If I let
boundaries.
my
We have
neighbor decide
boundaries.
what I'm going to eat for breakfast, he's going to tell me.
No, that's different. Because
Yeah,
we do
no.
have boundaries. We definitely have boundaries. But at the same time, there's things that people get excited about that is not a very big deal. And just like when you cross over in the spirit, if someone who's living on the earth has like, let me just say, an attitude problem or whatever, that carries over. Like, you're gonna notice, like, if they're shy, if they're outgoing, like, you will get that from them. So it's kind of the same thing. it's it's just like anybody that walks through, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. Everybody that walks through life can't connect with spirit.
Because they haven't
Why
learned
not?
how. They have not learned how. That's the only reason why.
That's one reason why, but maybe their reason to connect is different. And you could be right on it's the ego and not spirit as I'm thinking about this more. Like I know this happens, but
You know
I'm
what I mean? It's not the water; it's the tube. You're
yeah,
you're you're blocking the tube so the
you could
water
be
doesn't
you
go.
could be right. But as it comes out,
And
if
really,
you're
it's all
not
semantics.
huh?
And really, it doesn't matter. My version, your version, they both work.
Oh, they both work. It's
So,
whatever works for you.
exactly.
Sometimes you see more and willing to say more, but spirits tell you to shut up and not wait, I lost that.
She said to shut up and not disclose the information you've received.
Mm, I'm not sure I agree
I
with that
get that.
either.
I don't get
Um,
it from the same perspective, but I get it from the. When I was saying earlier that I don't always read people, I only read particular people that I'm called to. The
I
same thing happens with sending people energy or helping them in certain ways. Sometimes I'm told to, other times I'm told not to. If that does that tie in any way, shape, or form, Myrna?
so let me go through one at a time. So sometimes you see more and willing to say more, but spirit tells you to shut up and not to discuss more information for some reason. So here's the thing. All reading should be positive. So if spirit comes through for you to give their loved one information, they're not going to tell you something that they don't want their loved one to know. That's the first thing. If that makes sense to what your statement was. Um, they won't give you your spirit guide see it, but the person spirit refuse to talk more. That can happen. Um, I haven't had that problem, but that is very possible. Because let's just say, for example, so and I'm gonna come to your question, your thing, Jessica. I'm just going one at a time. Let's say a spirit has committed suicide. They may come through, but when you ask their cause of death, they won't want to tell you. And that's because they're embarrassed or they are regretful or it can be a number of reasons why they wouldn't tell you. Give me 1 second.
Hmm. I'm.
I'm sorry. They may not want to disclose that information for embarrassment, fear, regret, whatever it is. Um I had a thought, what if spirit is just excited to make the connection? That thought just occurred to me. Spirit is very excited to make the connection. You know why?
Definitely.
You know how many people we have on the earth, and you know how many spirits they have? Like, the number doesn't compare. So, if they get the chance to make a connection to give their loved one healing, they're very excited for that. That's why they're not leaving. Your spirit guide sees it, but the person spirit refused to talk more. That happens too. What are you about to say, Frank? What am I
I'm
missing?
no, I'm actually I'm just listening because now we're out of my depth. Now we're well into mediumship, and I'm listening. I'm learning.
Sometimes your guides show you everything, but the client spirit refused to tell you more. You need to be aware of that. Sometimes your guides show you everything.
So you have
That's
that
true.
knowledge, but you're not gaining it from
But at
the
the same
spirits.
time, that's where boundaries come in. You definitely have to have boundaries with spirit. Sometimes your guides show you everything, but the client's spirit refuses to tell you more.
Like yeah, like you're gaining the knowledge from your own side in a way,
Hmm.
but you're not gaining it from their side, and so in a case like that, I'm curious, Myrna, like how would you proceed? Would you proceed based on what your spirit guides are letting you know, or based on what the spirit is letting you know? I'm very curious about all this. Like I this is out of my depth. Okay. Go on. I don't have that much that I could add that would bring value.
So your guides can show you things depending on if you have a relationship with your guides. Um,
Makes
let's
sense.
put it this way: in the olden days, when people would make connections, it would be connect with your guide, and your guide go get the message from spirit, and the spirit gives it to your guide, who gives it to you. We don't need that middleman. Your guide, needs to be there for your protection, not to give you the messages. That's where we kind of like we having like a new way of doing things, because I'm not saying your guide's doing this, but like when you talk to a person in here, like you tell this person something, they might tell the next person what you said in a whole, change the sentences. And that's where you come in with like reference libraries and things like that, where it's important to say exactly what spirit says, because you don't want to misinterpret the response by saying something that they didn't actually say. You have to be careful with that. And I don't want to violate the dead boundaries. I am here just the messenger. Well, first of all, there are no dead boundaries. Like we don't die. We are immortal. People, we are here on earth with a personality is born from our soul. And we have this body which we leave here dust to turn to dust. But our soul is energy. Our soul is light, and our soul will go back up to heaven no matter what. No matter what kind of sins we create, no matter what. And I'm not telling people to go out and kill people. Like you you have karma for that shit. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. But we all go back to spirit. We all go back to our soul. Our main soul will always stay in heaven, and a piece of our soul will break off, incarnate into a body, and we will live this life. And then at the end of this life, our main spirit guide will take our that piece that incarnated back to our soul. And our soul, the main part of our soul in heaven, will remember everything, all the different lives. That so the soul has the knowledge of that. The piece that incarnates loses memory. I'm going way off topic. We gotta like stop.
No, no, that's all good. You're no, no. It's not even off topic because that is one of the levels of consciousness, right?
It's kind of a level of consciousness, but like I didn't
It
mean for
totally
it to go
is.
this far into
It's reaching that view
the
of.
spirits from the client. I don't want to violate you're not violating any spirit, rather it's from the client or anyone. And let me put it this way. Wait,
Well, you
something just
said wasn't
appeared
it
on.
Myrna that you said was very intuitive?
She is very intuitive.
Just follow your
She doesn't
intuition.
trust herself.
Your intuition will 100% tell you what to do.
Yeah,
That's the
she knows
only
that.
guide.
She knows that. She just
That is
doesn't
the
know that.
only guide.
She's
That
got
is
problems. She's got problems believing her intuition, but she's very, very, very highly intuitive.
your intuition is
And
like your
so is Jessica.
pipeline to your higher self. It's like you're receiving information intravenously from your higher self from your intuition.
Yes.
It's that important.
And so switching the subjects up again, like some people believe their higher self is their spirit guide.
Yes,
And
there
let's not
there's
even go there.
the lines blur so much in terminology, but that's the whole thing. That's what I was saying, that eventually there's one level of consciousness where you come to realize that every single one of them is right. It does everything we say, both of us, whether we agree or disagree, or we sometimes we disagree on something, we'll argue a bit about it, and then we'll come back to it, and we'll each use each other's way, because in the end, none of it actually matters, because it all brings to one single place, and that place is the union back with source. And it's so all of it has value, and that's the beauty of it. That's the but it's seeing that which is an experience that, like, feeling it, understanding. That's where I mean that there's an understanding of something, but then there's an understanding. There's the moment you feel it, then you go, oh crap, you know.
Hmm.
So
You know, Jill, I function differently. I believe the medium has her spirit guides and the client has his. They do, definitely. I see both spiritual parties. It's different from you. No, it's not different. I have spirit guides. You have spirit guides. Frank has spirit guides.
I don't
We
actually.
all have spirit guides. We may not have the same
Sorry,
amount.
I don't. I use a different system. So the spirit guides mess me up a little bit. I get confused.
African spirituality, theirs has a meeting between both parties. I'm
Yes,
not saying that's not
that's.
possible. That happens. 100. I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. 100% that happens, but it doesn't need to happen. Like I may have to pause myself for a minute.
But it's a model though.
I
It's a
can
way
make
of
a
using it.
connection with your spirit guides. You can make a connection with my spirit guides, but there's and that's okay. If you work that way and you're comfortable with working that way, that's fine. It's a longer way of working, in my opinion, but it's okay. It doesn't matter how you work. The whole point is to be able to get the same ending. It doesn't matter how you get that ending. It's just to get it. So it's fine. It's just, to me, in my opinion, it's a longer way. So I can talk to your spirit guides, and I can also talk to your family and friends who are in spirit without talking to your spirit guides. Like, I don't have to talk to your spirit guides to talk to your family or your loved ones in spirit, if that makes sense. Like, to you, like, I know ancestors is a big thing to you, Myrna. To me, ancestors is just a spirit guide to me. I'm not saying I don't have ancestors, I do, but it is definitely a different culture and a different way of. It's kind of like, man, I hate to use this for an example, but I don't know what else to use. It's kind of like the Catholic religion. Like, we're raised with the Catholic religion, okay? And I'm not talking specifically to you, I'm just talking in general. We're raised with the Catholic religion, and we think this is the only way. Like, oh my God, let me pray the rosary every day. Like, it's just taught to us. It's just something that we've learned throughout life. And we've learned it so much that we're scared to try a different way. But that doesn't mean a different way doesn't work. But in your opinion, it can be tricky. It's not, in my opinion. In my opinion, as long as you set your intent, whenever you're making any kind of connection, I don't care if you're doing a meditation, sitting in the power, connecting with spirit, doing psychic work, you set your intentions and you ask your spirit guides to protect you and to not let anything dark in. It's the same thing. It's just a different way of doing it.
Well, it's a very different way of doing it though, because what she says is true. The like their particular the spirituality that comes out of Africa, that comes out of AT, that comes out. We're talking about voodoo. We're talking about you're talking
Yeah.
about very different types of spirituality. And so, and from an African perspective, well, I mean, obviously, I'm not African.
Her family's from Haiti.
I'm not going to say an African perspective, but from a from having lived with a lot of African people and having understood, it ties with a cultural way. The way she's saying how the relationship between their spirit and my spirit, and the way the natives work a little bit in
Right.
a similar manner. Uh, and so I can kind of see where she's coming from.
I
And
definitely
well,
see where
yeah.
she's coming from. But what I'm trying to explain to her is her her way can be just as much compared to the Catholic way or the Baptist way or any religion or anything people are taught. When we're taught things growing up, people open up to spirituality and they're like, yeah, I resonate with this and I believe in this. But what if what I learned when I was Catholic was right and I die and I don't go to heaven or I go to hell? What if? What if? Let me just what if? I got to make sure I do it right just in case. That's the thing about different
Well, but
cultures.
here's the thing, though. But here's the thing. I can't say what she brings to the table because I don't know it. I
I
would
mean, I
have to
know her
ask
a
her.
little better than you. Like I've worked with her
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a couple of years now. And so I guess maybe that's why I can kind
But
of
there are things in those cultures that we don't
there
have
are.
in,
But it's
like, you know
it's
what I
to be
mean?
able to let that go and open your mind deeper. Like
But maybe
let
you
go
have
of
to let it go and become more like her. Could that be?
it could
That's
be.
that's where I'm
It
wondering. Like, okay, why
but
does she have to
but
let
my
go
view
anything?
on it is that rather she doesn't let it go and she believes in that culture, or I don't let it go and I believe in what I believe, doesn't make either
Neither
way
one
wrong.
has to let anything
we
go.
we all people listen, we all going to the same place. None of us is getting out of here alive. We all going to the same place, and when I say that, I'm just thinking of the human term. We're not actually dying. We're immortal. You cannot destroy or create energy, so therefore we are always going to be. But what she believe, let's put it this way, if you believe you're going to die and you're going to go to heaven and wash Jesus Christ's feet, then that's what you're going to do. If you believe you're going to die and you're just going to be reincarnated, that's what you're going to do. It's all in our mind. These thoughts in our mind are very, very important. Pay attention to the thoughts in your mind
But it's
because
way more
that's
than the
what.
thoughts in your mind, though. It's way more. The thoughts in your
Mm,
mind are the beginning. They're the first
are
ten
you
percent.
are you saying with that you don't that you
What I
need a certain
what
you
I'm
need to
saying is the
practice a
thoughts in your
certain
head
thing,
is well, one of the things that you practice to be able to handle those thoughts is meditation, right?
and that
It's
comes with
it's
awakening.
it's the
It's not for
saying
everybody.
those thoughts go it's but that's a technique. That, as far as I'm concerned, lifting weights will give you muscles. That's a given. Meditating
Hmm.
will give you the ability to look at your thoughts and look at your emotions. That's a given. Not doing either will not give the expected results.
Okay, listen.
That's
I
that.
literally see some people attached with extra entities sent by witchcraft or to monitor them, or they have bad ancestors willing to participate. You can't be yourself. Sometimes your presence are physically felt. Agreed. But I can I can put spells and I can cast different things on different people. If I tell somebody, let's put it this way. Let me try to think the best way to explain this. This is really important. If I tell you I'm going to cast a spell on you and you get scared and you freak out, then guess what? My spell is going to work. But
Well,
if
she
I
cast
tell
a spell
you,
on herself.
if I t- if I tell you I'm going to cast a spell on you and you look at me and you're like, "You crazy fucking bitch. You can't do that." Like it won't work. It's what you believe. People go through things in life, no matter what. We all have obstacles to overcome, but that doesn't define us. We, our beliefs and our thoughts is a lot to do with what our life is. If you believe something, chances are, if you truly believe it, and I'm not just saying go have a thought in your head and believe something, but if you truly believe it, chances are you're gonna manifest it. But if you have something that you don't believe, if somebody tells you something's gonna happen and you really don't believe it, chances are it won't happen. So our thoughts mean so much. Our thoughts are very powerful. If you believe that somebody is gonna harm you or do harm to you or your family by putting a spell on you, you damn right they will. But if you don't have belief in that, that it's kind. You know what protection is like when you put that bubble of protection around you. If you don't believe they can do it, they can't touch you. That's you letting it go. Do you agree, Frank?
No.
Our thoughts have a lot to do with things.
I don't. I partly do.
You
I
remember
do.
I
I
did a reading
agree.
for someone. You asked me with a student. I literally told you guys to be cautious because the client had evil being behind her. I was working on protecting three of us. Yes, but the client was very weak. And if the client is weak and the client does not, and the client,
What's weak?
in other words, you allow negativity in your life, you allow evil into your life. If you stop that by not allowing that, by not associating with negative people, by, and there's different things, not associating with negative people, staying protected, staying positive, not believing negativity, that's everything. That is everything. But there are some people, and a lot of people out there, that allow it in. And if they allow it in and you believe it, it's going to affect you too.
It's not everything, but it's something.
It's a lot of things.
But it's something. But it's not everything. There's
Don't
way
get me
more
wrong.
beyond
I've
that.
had a lot of experiences with negativity, and like I've had glass blown up. I've had so many things happen since I started practicing this. Like bad things. But I've also had fear. And if you let that fear go, nothing can touch you. Fear's not real.
Fear is very real.
It's a human thing.
But it's
It's
but yeah, okay, then humans aren't real. So but fear is something we have,
but if
something that we need
us
to
we
acknowledge.
are weak too, it would affect, yes, it would affect you if you're weak. And having an immature student, exactly. You're right. And that's why I screen everybody that comes in a circle, because I can't just let anybody in a circle, because I have to protect the other circle members. Because if there's somebody weak, or somebody on drugs, somebody that drinks alcohol excessively, somebody that has a lot of fear, somebody, anybody like that, I cannot allow in a circle, because their energy can affect the other circle members. Um, Especially because they're just developing and they may not be sure exactly how to protect themselves. It's very, very important, and that's why I screen people. Like I don't have people that call me and say, "Hey, can I join Circle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can join." No, there's no amount of money gonna let you join. Like, no, it's too dangerous for the other students, because they're just getting their foot in their door and they may not be familiar with all the different things that go on in spirituality. This can be dangerous. It can be, right?
Yes. I'm just listening. And
What
this
the?
is not this, again. This is not something I delve into. Like this is not something I did when I was younger, but then it didn't stick in my life, so it just
I
kind
don't
of.
think. Do you think it was to this nature though? Because once you go into this, it's a very
No,
like
it
I
wasn't.
don't.
It wasn't to that extent because I. How can
I
I?
don't see people being able to turn their back. Like I'm at a point where like if I decided I don't want to do this, I can't. It's too late. Like once
Oh
you're
no,
in,
not it. No, but it's because, and I have the theory I've been saying for a while with you, where I think because I started doing magic, it sort of banished it all, and so
hmm
that's when it all
and
left because it became. See, because that's what I was saying earlier, right? Because you were like, well, when you talk with guides, and I was like, I don't talk with guides, I don't talk with spirits, I don't talk with, I my system uses archangels, angels, demons. That's what it uses, and in a very, very different, and elementals and all kinds of other stuff. But it doesn't. It can, play with that. Like it can. It's part of but I never did because I went, okay, what is that gonna I chose a different way to heal people because you mention it a lot as healing people, right? And this is the approach you took to it. Whereas my perception of it was not so much that it was healing, so I never looked at it from that perspective. So
So to
because of
me,
that, I went somewhere else to find a way to heal, where that could have been a good one. I just didn't know it. You know what I mean?
healing people, it can mean a lot of things. Like people have aches and pains that they need healing with, and I have worked with that, and I have healed people. Um, I'm better at in person healing, and don't come to my house because tell you what, like people show up at my house. Look, I do not see people without an appointment, and I will not see you if you come to my house. Don't waste your time. People have done that, and they learn the hard way.
I don't even open
And
the
I'm
front
not
my
trying
door
to
to
be mean, but
friends.
I have a schedule, and and like, no, don't come. Call me first. But as far as healing people goes, when you meet with someone that wants a mediumship reading and you make a connection to their loved one in spirit and you give that evidential message, that is very healing because a lot of people,
Well,
just
I
like
get it.
what I mentioned earlier, they're like, but what if, but what if they
Hmm.
went to hell, but what if they do it, like
No,
when
you give a
you
sense of
act.
closure. You give
Yes, yes,
it's I get how it heals. I just didn't at the time.
in Montreal they have great senior spiritualists. Michael Morin, few seniors from the group of First Spiritualist Temple of Montreal. You don't see much people like that. I have been trained by them 20 years ago for years. Amazing Montreal people, some near 70, 80 years old now. Extraordinary experience and materialization or angelic experience. I don't know who that is. I'm not saying that they don't,
The
like
one
they're
name.
not. I mean, I don't know who they are, so I have no experience with them. But you just have to, and I'm not saying this for these people, but go on TikTok, y'all. I mean, look at the freaking people doing like, oh, I'm gonna read you psychically. It's all young kids. Like, yes, we are evolving.
You're talking about a place where people pretend having mental illness. Let's say so.
Yeah,
TikTok
we
is a
are evolving,
universe in
but
itself.
not that much. I
Well, no,
mean,
but TikTok is not.
and as far
People
as
are. TikTok
tarot,
is not.
anybody can read tarot. I mean, I can go get. I'm I'm not gonna get my son because last time I got him to read tarot, he's like, y'all don't even want to know. But I have two spiritually gifted kids. Anybody can read tarot if you read it from the book. There's a different way. We went through that last week. You can read intuitively or you can read from the book. Um, right now, there are so many people that say they are awakened that are not. You just have to be careful.
Yeah. Well, because people want to belong.
Thank you,
That's why.
Myrna. Myrna gives me so many compliments. I know I asked her earlier about myself, but like Myrna, sometimes she gives me so many compliments that like I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm not that great. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I've been very accurate with Myrna. That's not to say that I'm accurate all the time. I make mistakes. I interpret things wrong, and that's normal.
I wouldn't know.
The
I wouldn't
biggest
know
thing
either.
about opening up spiritually is being being accepting of whatever happens, like no expectations. If
You need to remove attachments and expectations. And
Yes.
expectations are an attachment. They're an attachment to a result, right?
Hmm.
And so, if you cannot be, that's a huge thing the Buddhists teach. And I don't know that it's very well expressed in other religions, but that non-attachment, it's very important, because if you're not attached
Yeah,
to something,
definitely.
when you lose it, you don't care. It just goes like, oh, okay, so this I don't have no more, next thing, whatever. But results are harder. People are attached to results, they're attached to ideas, they're attached, like they enter relationships with an idea of what a relationship should be, and they have attachment to that, right? And so there's a lot of attachments we have that are not things that are, and they can influence us really badly.
Definitely.
uh, I mean, we can even develop attachments to like super bad stuff. With some people are attached to depression. uh, really.
So, since we have a lot of people interacting tonight, can you guys tell us what do you want to know about? What do you want us to talk about? Give us some ideas for future shows, cuz
Yeah,
um
yeah, we would love that.
we really want to know what people are interested in, what they have questions about. Um for I guess I can give we should give some examples for the people that are not that are just watching us in amazement of learning new things. I don't know. Like you want to know about spirit attachments? Do you want to know about walk-in spirits? Do you want to know about um the
Now, some of
difference?
those subjects will be fetching information for you or getting people that know about it. We won't.
Yeah.
We won't
And
always be
and
the ones
do
who
you
know.
have anything that you want to talk about that we can interview you for? Um our email address, you didn't put it up, Frank?
I thought
Our
I did.
email
Okay.
address is the same as the show, live with Jill and Frank at AOL.com. Send us an email and we will get back to you. We very interested in talking to you. If you have a book you want to promote, if you have a subject that you have experience with, we're happy to talk to you.
And if you guys want to hear more about levels of consciousness, I just uploaded a video on Boundless Mind
You
on
have to
YouTube.
remove your
Um,
beliefs and faith. Some readings are outside of my faith or life experience or lifestyle. Yes.
mhm.
So you don't necessarily have to believe remove your beliefs and faith. If you have beliefs that you feel resonated with and you feel comfortable with, that's fine. You don't have to remove that. It's fine for whatever you believe. The main point of this is everybody's beliefs are accurate. You
That's the main.
disagree?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. 100%. It's look. The bottom line
We're not
is
here
we're
to
all
change
going the
people's
same
minds.
place.
Yeah. We're not here to change people's minds on beliefs or experiences. And having said that, let me just say the main thing is go off your experience. Don't go off what we say. Go off what you experience and let yourself experience different things. Because there's not a right or wrong way to live life in the afterlife. What you experience, like
Well,
we're
there is
all
a right
right.
way, but only your higher self knows, not anybody else. Nobody's going to be
In
able
other
to
words,
tell you.
follow your own guidance.
Nobody can tell you. Your higher self can. And so you listen to your
So, in other words,
intuition.
follow your own guidance, right?
Yeah, follow your intuition. It never lies. Never. Maybe that's one of the topics we could talk about. Would you guys like to hear about that? Intuition, how to develop intuition, how to what is intuition? Where do you go with it?
Okay. So, are we going any further, or are we gonna end?
I think
Because
that's it. I
we're
think
we're
we're
on
good
two
to.
hours now.
We're on 2 hours, so I'm really happy people stuck with us for this long. Like you guys are very. I'm honored. Uh, so
And if you catching this on the replay, feel free to interact with us in the comments. We watch the comments, and we still want to know your thoughts, even if you catching this tomorrow or next week. Let us know.
Myrna says sometimes you do a reading with And you wonder if the client has a strange lifestyle according to your beliefs, but it's touchy subject and difficult to touch. Yes, you may. It's the same thing with coaching. I've had last analogy, I guess, before we go. I've had a client at some point, and we got along super well as people as well, but I kept on thinking I was getting nowhere with that person, and because we kept on putting action plans and nothing would get done. And so one day I spoke to my own coach and went, dude, what do I do? And he was like, well, ask her if she's getting anything out of your coaching or not. Like, she might be. And I said, okay. And I checked, and she was like, no, 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 I get so much out of it. And I was like, what the heck? Okay, but then we're not getting it. And one day, out of the blue, she pretty much accomplished everything we had set out to do for months in like the space of a week, and started this massive project, and I was just like, oh wow. But that was her way of taking information, taking new ways and whatever, and sort of internalizing it, and then when she was ready, running with it. And so I learned a lot from that. Yeah, you'll get people that you'll be like, how is this person even functioning? And yet it seems to work perfectly fine for them. And it's like, okay, well, if it works, it just
Whatever works.
yeah. It's like, yeah, I've seen people that trust me, I was on the streets. I've seen some interesting people. All right.
So we thank you all for coming in tonight. We are so happy that you interacted with us. We appreciate it so much.
Absolutely.
Please leave us comments, share, even though the live is over. Share for the word to get out. We will be back live with you next week on Thursday. That is
Thursday
the 6th
6th.
of October,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
At 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern.
that's right.
So signing off.
5 p.m. Pacific, I guess.
Oh, I'm not sure about all
Right
that.
up 7, 8.
I'm
6,
just gonna
6
agree.
Pacific. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for watching. We'll catch
Thank
you on the
you.
next one.
Good night.
Take care.